You know, Martin Luther was a miserable monk. He became a monk because a thunderstorm terrified him. He was convinced that he was going to be struck by lightning, and he said, God, I'll go into service. Please don't kill me. And he spent those years as a monk miserable because he was convinced that he was a rotten, no-good sinner. And so he would constantly go to his priest because he believed that was the only way to receive absolution for his sins. He would constantly go to his priest to confess. And the priest finally said to him, listen, I can't do this all day. If you're going to keep coming to confession, you need to actually go do something worth confessing. But Martin Luther wanted to come to him and tell him about everything, every little thought, every time he thought about maybe saying something mean to someone. Because he was terrified, he was miserable, he was afraid he was going to go to see God as a sinner and be vanquished to eternity. Then Martin Luther was asked to teach Romans in the class, and he began to study Romans, and when he came to the book of Romans and he understood that through faith he was justified, that through faith it was as though he had never sinned. It changed everything for Martin Luther. And he went from being a miserable monk who was constantly worried and constantly confessing that his life changed so drastically that he married a nun, he left the church, began to write on the true meaning of the gospel, became known for his incredible sarcastic wit, and enjoyed life. He was incredibly faithful, and he had resolve, and he stood against heretics, and he walked into meetings where he didn't know if they were going to allow him to live. He was very faithful, but he was also filled with joy. And we do not have to be sad to be serious about the things of God. And because Martin Luther experienced the grace of Jesus, it became the basis and foundation for a dedicated, serious, but joyful life. And the key to having a merry heart is the grace of Jesus Christ. When we experience His grace and His forgiveness, we're able to have joy in all circumstances. Even when things are not well, when things are not good. And that's what Paul was speaking about in Philippians when he said, whether I live or I die, it's Christ. It's Christ. Whether things are good or bad in 2018, Christ came. He came. And when we experience His grace, it will shape our hearts to be merry. And that is a very good